In the middle of the night, on July 11, 1958, in Central Point, Virginia, the home of Richard and Mildred Loving was raided by the police in hopes of finding them having sex. Interracial sex was illegal in Virginia. Mildred was Black and Native American, and Richard was white. Having been married in Washington, D.C., Mildred showed them the marriage certificate on the wall. They were told their marriage was not valid in Virginia and were arrested. 6 months later, they pled guilty to cohabitating as man and wife against the peace and dignity of the Commonwealth and were sentenced to a year in prison, suspended if they were to leave Virginia and not return for 25 years. After years of frustration for not being able to visit their own family in Virginia, they took their case to court and lost. The trial judge stated very openly in his own words, Almighty God created the races, white, black, yellow, Malay, and red, and he placed them on separate continents, and but for the interference with his arrangement, there would be no cause for such marriage. The fact that he separated the races shows that he did not intend for the races to mix. The Lovings appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. Richard Loving conveyed a message through his attorney. Tell the courts, I love my wife, and it's just unfair that I can't live with her in Virginia. Nearly 9 years after that late-night raid in Loving versus Virginia, the Supreme Court issued a unanimous decision to overturn the criminal conviction. As a result, the Supreme Court dealt a major blow to segregation by ending prohibitions on interracial marriage. Loving versus Virginia is considered one of the most significant legal decisions of the civil rights era. And let me repeat the name of that very famous court case, Loving versus Virginia. Loving, a type of love, an interracial love that was once illegal but is now dramatically changing demographics and attitudes of our country, a type of love that created my beautiful son, Kai, who is a living reflection of interracial love. I grew up in Ohio with wonderful friends as well as a fair amount of kids who were taught bigotry. I was often the only Black kid in my class from preschool through high school, which was isolating. I was called the N-word many times, spat on, told how I should gather up all my things, my family, my relatives, and go back to Africa. I've had my body parts relentlessly mocked, from my full lips to my thick thighs to my round butt. Well, you get it. And somehow through that cultural crushing childhood, I was taught how to love. I was raised by my grandmother. She was clear on a handful of instructions: love the Lord, brush your teeth, say grace before meals, go to college. My grandmother only had a 6th grade education because of segregation. And the last one, understand without any doubt, question, or concern, you are loved. And I was loved. I was truly, deeply loved within the halls of our home. That love gave me value, strength, brought me to a place beyond prejudice and bigotry and racism. My grandmother, Bertha May Calley, was born in 1922 in Selma, Alabama, home to Bloody Sunday, the march led by 25-year-old John Lewis that became a turning point in the civil rights movement and mobilized Congress to pass the Voting Rights Act. As a young child, I can clearly recall my grandmother saying, "Yes, ma'am," "No, sir," to white folks outside our home. At that age, I couldn't fully understand why she felt compelled to lower herself by using this disheartening response. I was ashamed for her. She was strong and intelligent and hardworking and my role model. And there she was, lowering herself because of the color of her skin. My grandmother grew up during the time of Jim Crow law, separate but equal, laws that legalized and enforced racial segregation. Laws that marginalized Black Americans, determined where they could shop, go to school, eat, play, and who they could love. where every single aspect of life reinforced that she was separate and not equal to that of another race. Where defying these laws meant facing arrest, fines, jail sentences, violence, and even death. Jim Crow law was potent in the South. Even though this was her reality, she taught me how to love for Black, white, and every color in between. She never stood in the way when dating out of my culture, even though she feared for my safety. She didn't stand in the way of who I chose to love. Despite the harsh reality of her life on race, she taught me how to love, not who to love. And because of that, this is my family today. We are a variegated crew, meaning look at us, different shades and shapes and sizes and smiles. We're a mix of many things, yet still one family. We've been through a lot with hostile glares and stares and the aloof. Are you guys together? Yes, we are all one. One of the largest shifts in Gallup poll history is approval between marriage of Blacks and whites. In 1958, only 4% of those surveyed approved. And by 2013, 87% of Americans approved. In 55 years, the numbers shifted dramatically. Let's explore the mix in terms of population projections. Our family is not seen as mainstream representation of a family yet. We are still seen as unique in 2021. But this is changing. What will families look like in the future? What will be the norm in less than 25 years? According to William H. Frey, an internationally regarded demographer, whites will become a minority in 2045. Looking at the top line for 2020 projection, you can see whites under 18 have already become the minority. Youthful minorities are the engine of future growth and will create the demographic change in this country. White folks are being outpaced in total combination of Hispanics, Asians, multiracial, and Black folks. And my kids are a perfect example of changes taking place in America. Mikey, 15, standing on my right, his best friend Aditya is culturally from India. Both his parents are from India. Most of his buddies are of various ethnic backgrounds. Of course, they were selected on how well they grinded on Super Mario Kart, but that still qualifies as content of character. And that's my point. He chose his friends based on skill, not color or ethnicity. Kai, 13, seated left under my wing. His best friend Amani is biracial. His mother's white, father's Black. Kai told me about a problem he was having at a kid at school, and I asked him, what ethnicity is this child? Because I'm thinking back to my own childhood, wondering if it was a racial issue. And his reply was, Mom, what does it matter? The kid said I was weak for not wanting to meet him after school. I'm not weak. You just picked me up early from school that day. Yes, Mom for the win. Then there's Eli, 11, seated under Franco's wing. His best friend is also biracial, his mother white, his father Mexican. Because of his best friend August, Eli developed a taste for incredibly spicy foods, like biting into spicy jalapeno. Eli and August are inseparable. It would take a higher degree of heat than a jalapeno to lock the bond these boys have built. Again, they do not see color, just friendship and love. And I'm proud to say, I have 3 ambassadors of love trained for battle in a world where racism still exists. My biological son is both Black and white, which takes away choosing a side. My stepchildren love me as mother. Both understand barriers built around their white privileges that don't include my Blackness. They demand these barriers must come down. There's an actual war on love out there, and I know for a fact my kids and their friends are equipped and ready to fight. They stand together no matter what color or ethnicity. So why do intercultural relationships and marriages matter? Because I believe in the fullness of time, intercultural relationships will eliminate hate and bring peace. And how do we look toward the future where peace is the goal? We look toward the future with clarity, and understanding that minorities will be the majority and that America will soon be made up of people of many cultures and many different colors: white, black, yellow, Malay, and red. The many becoming one. E pluribus unum, a traditional motto of the United States, Latin for either many, one, now can apply to the changing demographics of our country. How do we progress toward peace? Like Richard and Mildred Loving, we must fight all the way to the Supreme Court, if necessary, for the right to love who we choose to love. Like John Lewis, we must take to the streets to fight peacefully for love and equality, making good trouble. Like my grandmother, Bertha May, we must teach how to love, not who to love. Like my children and their friends, we must appreciate and honor our cultural differences when cultivating friendships and love. Okay, and if I'm being honest, how skilled you are on the Xbox or PlayStation up to a certain age also matters. A well-known song written by Sam Cooke, and the lyrics go like this. It's been a long, long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. The change is come. Our kids are intercultural kids. They don't fear race because they live diversity. They understand it and they embrace it. They are diversity. Not long ago, Jim Crow law existed. Let's name a new law and call it the love law, defined as the many becoming one in love and peace. Peace. I'm at peace when I climb into bed and my head hits the pillow, my heart's facing the sky, knowing the only threat I will face, unlike Richard and Mildred Loving, is a child tapping on the door for food or extra hugs to say goodnight. When looking 25 years into the future, we can celebrate with joy the intercultural love that's bringing peace through the lives of our children, our grandchildren, our families everywhere. Even Crayola will have a hard time keeping up. And then we'll all sing together. It's been a long, long time coming, and a change has finally come. Oh, yes, it has. May we all live the peace only love can bring. Thank you.